On Salam Media. This is the last half hour of our podcast series on Lent 70 celebrations. With me on the line is our next guest, Dr. Ranjit Lalloo. Thank you so much for your patience, Dr. Lalloo. Good morning. It's good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us. The reason
It's a
we
pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yes, the reason we have you on our program today is because we have a very rich cultural diversity in Lenasia. And what I'd really like to talk to you about is the cultural diversity as a means for social cohesion. And you did this through your passion for culture and upholding tradition. But before we talk about that, where were you living before you moved to Lenasia?
Is everybody? Fordsburg, Cherish Road, Fordsburg, near the Ekalwayas. Yeah, grew up there.
Uh-huh. And also then moved to Lenasia. And during your studies abroad, you are a medical doctor. You were in Lenasia, I beg your pardon, India before you came back to South Africa.
Yeah, after matric, it was difficult because that time a lot of non-whites were not allowed to enter the university. So my parents put me on the SS Karanja. Took me 24 days to reach Mumbai, 1965.
Right. So, Dr. Ranjit, there was this great conflict of mind, you say, being brought up in South Africa as a South African Indian and then spending 7 years in India. Dr. Ranjit felt as an Indian in South Africa, he was different from an Indian in India. He was sure that other Indian South Africans felt the same. Talk to us about that.
I was always attached to India some way or the other. Even in Fordsburg, I was always interested in statecraft, music, drama, dance especially. So I had little private shows when I was in primary school. And that I was quite fortunate that I went to India because it sort of gave me wings and I could do many things. I learned a lot actually because India has such a rich culture of dance and music. Every state has its folk dance. Every area has its classical dance forms. So it was a learning experience all the way for me.
Hmm. Now, one would think that, the fact that you were in India and exposed to that artistic culture um, to that degree, and having come back to South Africa and living in Lenasia in an area that was demarcated for Indians only at the time, uh, why did you feel that Indian South Africans, it was different for them versus the Indians in India?
What the apartheid system, as put us all in Lenasia or in sort of designated Indian areas. So in
Mm.
one way, a lot of Indians were in Lenasia, in Azadville, and all the other places. So there
Hmm.
was definitely a renaissance in Indian culture at that time. Mosques
Hmm.
were built, temples were built.
Correct.
Indian education had proper sort of buildings where we could teach all this. So I got
Mm.
involved with the younger generation, came back after graduating in 1972, and
Mhm.
got involved in this movement of cultural revolution that was almost taking place here.
Absolutely. And that is what kept this, uh, community alive in its diversity, in its ability to overcome the deeper struggles, the deeper challenges. And, I mean, even transport was an issue at the time. So, this is how people kept themselves, firstly, protecting the culture as well, and which you played a pivotal role in. Uh, Tell us about that.
Well, initially, there was just a little sort of, what can I say, flirtation with all this culture because we had no teachers really to teach us. I mean, India was still far away. I came back from India, but India was not in South Africa in the 70s.
Hmm.
So, like we carried on. I started teaching folk dances, which I had learned there, classical dances, but I needed to sort of put more into it because the Indians here in South Africa were not aware because India was far away. The only
Right,
contact was probably Bollywood, and which I
right,
was not very keen to teach that kind of dance. So
right, right,
I had my own syllabus. After maybe 10, 15 years of teaching, I said, I'm not qualified to teach, but I
right,
had a passion for dance and a new way of looking at dance, which I learned. Even in India, there was a lot of changes happening. Even in the 70s, when people were trying contemporary dance, ballet, music in new diversion, fusion music. So that was my passion. And I think after maybe 15 years, in 1986, we said, okay, let's go for it. And I established the Jankar School of Dance.
right. In what way did the arts in this form assist in the social cohesion of the society at large? Because we still have a diverse religious, cultural population in Lenasia.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of incorporate everything inside. So, like all my students, I mean, I ran the school for nearly 40 years.
Hmm.
They go through a syllabus with history of dance, meaning of languages, different styles, so gave them a basic so that they could explode. Even today, some of my girls are they are specialists in their own fields, yet they continuing with dance. That is the best thing that has happened actually, that they are
Right.
continuing to search for new ways of moving. And it's
Mm.
happening all over actually. It's happening all over.
Right. So, but I also found that as a resident of Lenasia for so many years and just brought in your passion of the arts into the culture of that society. It was a wonderful means for you to then uphold that tradition or culture of the Hindu society in Lenasia. And I think we've seen over the generations the interest grew, and like you say, you have students that are white collar professionals that are still maintaining the culture apart from the love for movement. The cultural aspect is what's really drawn this conversation today, drawn my attention to this
Definitely. In fact,
conversation
I'm
today.
so
Yeah.
glad that they not only learned a dance, but going back the history of dance, the language, how to interpret the nuances of dance, of language into dance forms. So it was not just copying the latest Bollywood number, which I
Mm.
not really very fond of.
Right.
But I mean, what they have done is they've gone to the classical styles. Some of them have been on their own to India, learning Kathak from the best teachers actually. Even in
Mm.
South India, they have the Bharatanatyam field. They've gone back to India, they've come back, and they're carrying on with the tradition, which is so heartening.
Yes. Now one finds that you've taken that language, if you like, and translated it here for bringing back the culture or maintaining or preserving the culture. But at the same time, we find, and I just thought of language and how language plays such an important in role in maintaining the culture. Although we now very diverse, which is wonderful, we were always diverse. I mean, in terms of again, the religious, cultural diversity in Indonesia, a very colorful, vibrant society that integrated very well one into the other. And so, what would your comment be on language and how we've evolved since then? Because we spoke our mother tongue, so to speak, in our homes, and the only other language we were forced to learn was Afrikaans in the schools. So
Afrikaans.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we find that, yeah, and now it's lovely to see how Africans speak their mother tongue even now. Although English is the spoken word, but yeah, what would your comment be on language and its preservation?
Yeah, in fact, it's most unfortunate that the Gujarati schools have closed down actually, because with dance, if you're interested in dance or say music or even drama for that matter, let's talk about dance actually. If you
Mhm.
don't know the meaning of the language, the, of the song or anything that you have picked up, it's very difficult to sort of interpret it properly. Otherwise, you'll just do some acrobatic movements or something that you've just picked up from a YouTube channel.
Mm.
It's very important that they know the language, they know the culture, because I mean, Indian classical dance, especially, is very much related to Hinduism, and they
Mm.
must know all these texts and the Sanskrit and the Hindi words, how it to be interpreted. So
Mm.
I was very sort of adamant that they learn a language properly. Every song had to be translated by the dancer before you actually do the choreography. In that way, he succeeded very beautifully. So
Right.
that's one thing that's lacking now, because the kids are going to private schools, and the language is being sidelined actually quite a bit now, which is a
Mm.
pity, because now the dance form also, it's not sticking to the tradition actually. Very few people can make ends meet actually. If you take up this seriously, you can be assured, like me, you had to do medicine, you had to do a whole lot of other jobs before you can make dance or all these cultural activities work for you and so
Right.
carry on with your household expenses. Most difficult profession.
Right. And how did it start? Because, you mentioned how you started it and why you started it, but um, gathering the community then and creating an interest around what you do through movement and dance, again, upholding the traditions and the culture of Hinduism as such. How did uh, how did you draw? Was there an interest, in other words, or was it difficult then? Well, now it's as you say, it's a bit, it's not in fact of interest, unfortunately. Perhaps because the whole landscape has changed in Lenasia,
The
if you like.
landscape has changed. People are going out of Lenasia actually. For me,
Right.
it was all passion driven. For the first 15 years, say from 1972 till about 85, it was all passion driven. We just go and help. I used to go to Brits, I used to go to Pretoria, Standerton, Heidelberg to teach. And
Mm.
all passion driven. We don't get anything out of it. You just hope something works.
Right.
Eventually, I thought, there's more to dance than just this annual flirtation with this kind of thing. So that's when I established the Jankar School of Dance, and it was created quite a stir. And I said, you know what, we're going to be charging you 10 rands a month for this
Mm.
tuition that we are giving you. Are you charging for culture? That was the big chaotic hullabaloo going on. So, I
Mhm,
mean,
mhm,
people were quite shocked that I was charging 10 rands a month from each
mhm,
student. But
mhm,
eventually, I think I'm quite happy. Didn't make much out of it, but it
mhm.
was all passion driven. There was a lot of interest in the 70s and the 80s. It's dissipating to quite a great in the new century, because nowadays they just pick up the latest Bollywood thing on YouTube and try to copy it, and that's not for me.
Mm,
I see the black also. We were involved in the dance umbrella for about 20 years,
mm,
and a lot of these black dance group actually they have advanced to such a great degree. They're into ballet, they're into their own traditional style, they fusion, contemporary. It's amazing what is happening in the dance arena for the black
right,
students. Actually,
right.
in fact, we have dissipated the whole thing now. I don't think people are trying very hard, but the interest is not there. I suppose the parents will think you must get a degree first, you must have a profession, because dance, there's no platforms where you can perform that will bring you some income. Even if you take up drama, you won't get a job. If you
Mm.
take up dance, where are you going to
In the
perform?
arts,
Every
mainly
time
the
you perform,
arts.
can you do this? We're raising funds for this charity and that charity. So we've got something ready. We'll help you out. But at the end of the day, you just can't perform without rehearsing, without putting hours and hours of hard work and sweat before you can perform on stage.
And so at the
So
same time,
even classic, even
yeah.
singing for that matter, a lot of these, we have great singers here, But if they're not classically trained, they can't create their own music. They will sing the latest number, but tell
Mm,
them to sing in rag this and rag
mm,
Bhairavi or rag
mm.
something. All
Hence,
these
I hear,
Bollywood stars also, yeah, they actually are trained classical dancers, classical singers before they go
right,
on stage. So that
right.
is what is lacking here.
Right, and that's why I see that from all of your answers, it's just all about the culture of it all. Talk to us about the cultural organizations in Lenasia.
Well, at the moment, I don't know what's happening, but
I know in
Janka
your
School
time,
of
when
Dance
you
was running,
started,
yeah.
yeah, right.
There is the Lenasia Yuwak Mandal. At the moment, like a lot of people are starting. In Lenasia, actually, there's not much happening. We used to help the Gujarati school, the Patidar school, the Gandhi, but it's very difficult. You have the Sri Vidya school, Bharatanatyam school.
Mm-hmm.
So like they are trying, but we only make weekends work for us, and then if you are a teacher, all your weekends are gone. So at the moment, it's been a very difficult thing to carry on with the cultural problems.
Mm. So, what was the reason for this, deterioration, if you like?
People feel there are no platforms for it. Initially they used to, like I used to put up an annual show. I mean, every year we only meet 1 hour a week, and they want me to put up so if holidays we are not there. So in about say 30 hours for the whole year, 35 hours, they expect us to put up a whole production, and the
Hmm.
students come 1 hour a week.
Right.
If you watch Dance India Dance and Saregama and all that, it's hours and hours of reels. They give up their lives, they give up their careers to be part of that, and they put in so much of effort, years and years of it, of actual training before they appear on stage. We had to put up a show every 30 hours, you can say, because we meet about 30, 40 hours a year.
Mm.
And like people, your whole lifestyle changes actually, your whole family life changes if you were really into this cultural thing. It's a very difficult situation because we don't get really any backing from the government because we've got Indian culture. We don't get really backing from the Indian community because they say, oh, this is what you're going to do with dance, you know. So
Right.
for me, it was all passion driven. And well, I don't know, I hope I can continue. But some of my students are continuing, which is so hats off to them. I really appreciate what they are doing.
Right. So are you saying that it's because there's no future in the arts or because there's a lack of interest in the actual cultural upkeep? Because that's what you've done for your community in
Yeah,
Lenasia over the years. That's in fact my personal view. I've only watched you uphold and upkeep and um, create this passion and love for your own culture, as it were.
yeah, it's
So
very
isn't that,
difficult.
yeah.
Look, there's no financial remuneration. Most of the time, they'll give you a gift or something like that and expect you to carry
No,
on with it. But yeah, I mean, I run my practice for over 50 years in order to continue with what I love doing. That's why I didn't specialize actually, because I
right,
said, oh, my main passion is dance. This is what I want
right.
to do.
Yeah, but
But
in
it
terms of
has been
this,
very
yeah,
difficult, Dhanjwa, and let's
yeah,
hope the new generation. There are lots of them very keen to dance, but they have other careers. They have their family life. They have their husbands. They have their children. In fact, I get phone calls from my previous students. Doc, I've got two daughters. I can't teach them. Will you come? And each one of them, they've got their own kids. They can't teach their own kids, and it's so difficult to carry on with the. You have to carry on with your normal work in order to create this dance platform.
hmm. How would you describe Jankar's role in maintaining or playing a part in the cultural diversity in Lenasia as a means of social cohesion?
I would say we've done quite well. Like initially we used to do folk dances. Afterwards, I did 37 productions. Um, And I'm glad we graduated about 70 students a day. They are continuing, and those who are interested, they have gone to India. Some of them have gone to Kathak teachers in Canada and the USA. They have come back, and but they are. It's very difficult to carry on with it because it's a little 2 month trip to India, come back again,
Right.
and then you at a loss as to how to perform, where to perform. I was very fortunate I could create a platform for 37 years. Every year, a
Right.
different production, a theme-based production. So
Right.
every time I had to look for new music, and fortunately, like I tried to use a lot of fusion music, all done
Right.
by the classically composed uh, uh, musicians. So
Right.
like
So,
that was my field. To
right.
sort of create new works with new music that was available and being
Right.
created by the musicians of India.
So, in other words, you would say that the social cohesion was brought about by your production in terms of the fusion and different,
Yeah.
forms of movement and dance. Okay, what is your view on Lenasia's platinum anniversary and the cultural and social cohesion up to today in your role as a dance teacher?
Well, I just hope the new lot can carry on with the whatever they are doing, But if they can, if the Lenasia committee can support them financially or something, that or they will pay for every little thing, but not to the artist, because you cannot be an artist and then survive on whatever they give out, because it's not an ongoing thing. I mean, in India you have the movie industry, you have the stage productions, you have support from the government, the cultural department. But in Lenasia, we don't have that actually. I mean, if we put up a production at Gandhi Hall or Patida Hall, I mean, you pay so much for your sound system, you pay so much for the theater, you try to pay your senior teachers whatever you can, You pay for the brochures, you pay for the tickets, you pay for
Right.
to
Right.
get the
But
soundtrack done by
right.
some professional person. By the
Right.
end of the day, you just say, okay, what have you done? You just make ends meet. And
Okay. So
even
in
to
other
perform
words,
outside, we tried two performances at Gold Reef. It's about 60,000 rand just for one performance, and we can't
okay.
come out.
Right. So what you're then saying is that over the years, the interest has diminished, and then there's no future in terms of professional career as such. But bringing it back to Lenasia being 70 years old, what is your view on that and your role so far? Just the 70 years over the
The
years, apart
70
from
years, I think
yeah,
we succeeded in creating that interest.
right.
Fortunately, like I hope it continues
Hmm.
uh, in the right few manners. Because the thing is, like it's very easy now with the cell phone. They just copy the latest from the YouTube, and that's they're not prepared to sort of go to a dance teacher, a
Okay.
dance guru to learn a proper technique.
Right.
Because only if you learn proper technique and you sort of imbibe the whole thing within you, otherwise it just become very superficial and very shallow. And if you
Mhm.
really go into the history of dance and history of music and all this, it is so fascinating. And that is, I think, advise the people who are into dance, please go back to your roots, sort of help create that balance between the new and the old.
Wonderful. On that note, we thank you very much for
Thank
your
you very
time
much.
this morning and
Okay,
giving us your input on the cultural diversity created through your dance and your passion for the arts. Thank you so much, Dr.
okay.
Ranjit Lalloo.
Thank you very much, Najma. I know everybody. Hope it was worthwhile. Bye. Keep well,
Absolutely.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right.
And that's it for this week's edition of these Land 70 podcast series. Next week, we have very interesting topics as we look into the effects of spatial inequality and the effects on your mental health as such. So we're looking at an academic study, and we're also going to look at development, as it were, in terms of the the glory years of Lenasia, if we can call it that. Where have we come to under the new dispensation? What are the challenges? And more importantly, what impact did it have on our mental health when we were forced to move? Following that, I'm hoping, inshallah, we will have the history of the Lenasia Muslim Association next week. With that said, have a wonderful day ahead. I'm Najma Kota. I'll be back with you next week at 11. Assalamu alaikum.